Good morning, everybody. So today we will discuss about the second session of the class, that is business regulation. So today, this is actually prepared by Dr. Keshoba, GFGC, and today we will be discussing about it. Let me share the screen with you all. Okay, today we'll discuss the second session of the session. Okay, what all things we discussed in the previous class? First thing was about the introduction to business law. Second thing was meaning of business law. Definition of business law was discussed in the previous class. We had got a clear idea of why business law, what is the meaning of business law. The definition of business law was discussed in the previous class. What is that we're going to discuss today? First and foremost thing is scope, to what extent the business law is being enforced, and which all places the business law will be used. Then what are the sources of this business law will be discussed in today's class. Okay, first thing is the sources. From where did we get this law? Let's first discuss about the scope. Scope says the scope of mercantile law is very wide and varied. It includes law relating to contracts, partnership, negotiable instruments, companies, insolvency, insurance, carriage of goods, etc. So many things are there included. So what all related to business, related to commerce, everything is included, including Sale of Goods Act, Company Act, Contract Act, everything comes under mercantile laws. Then what are the issues? Issues of securities, contracts, properties, agency, negotiable instruments, foreign exchange, everything comes under this mercantile law. Clearance, allotment of material, import of capital, goods, pollution control, environment protection, everything comes under this mercantile law. Because when we're doing business, it is taken into consideration, everything is taken into consideration. We need to take each and every part of the environment, the macro as well as micro environment, aspects of that having impact on the business will be taken into consideration in your business law or mercantile law. Now, what are the sources of this? How did we get this business law? From where did it started? First thing, legislation. The courts, the parliament, the state government make some legislation. Customs by practice. You have got laws, case laws. Based on the case, a specific case, a law is being made. Natural laws. Then we have got to take on some law from English law. All these things are the main sources of business law. Now let us go to the statute of legislations. How did legislation started? The statutory law, the legislation, the main source of law. This is the place from where the law has come. First thing is, every legislation happens in the parliament. In India, the constitution empowers the parliament and the state legislature to promulgate law for the guidance or conduct of persons to whom the statute is expressly by implication made applicable. It is sometimes called enacted law because it has been enacted in the parliament, so we call it as enacted law. As it is brought into existence by getting acts passed by the legislative body, it's called statute law because it is writ of the state and it is written form. It is the written form. Everybody should follow, and state government, the central government makes this laws. That is the reason why we call it as legislation. It's passed in the assembly. The 3/4 majority, only then it becomes a legislation or a statute. Next, Indian statute laws are acts of Indian legislature. What all things we have? The acts which are passed in the Indian legislature becomes the basis for many modifications in business laws. So whatever they make the legislature, it becomes a law for us. Number one, Indian Contract Act 1872. It started with that 1872, which is a British law, which has been continued even today. And we are practicing it. There are some modifications made, some enactments being made, but it's being continued. Next thing is Indian Contract Act 1872. It's also a British law and still in force with slight modifications being made by our parliament. Everything remains same. The Negotiable Instrument Act 1881, Sale of Goods Act 1930. Indian Partnership Act 1932, Companies Act 1956 that have been enacted, and recently it has been changed to 2013. The Companies Act was remodified with a lot of new features and new rights have been added into that, and then they have changed it in 2013. So Companies Act 2013, that also has become an Indian statute. There are many such laws which are there, which has been passed in our parliament. Next, customers. Now, how does it happen? Customary or the customs. A general custom as a source of law is not normally written, but in practice can be shown to be exercised for a long time, such as since time immemorial, 1189 AD, it becomes a source of law. A particular custom or a private custom. A particular custom becomes a law, may arise and become a right with the force of law when a person or a group of persons has a long usage obtained, a recognized usage, such as easement. That is what happens. So by practice, customary, you're not supposed to rob, you're not supposed to smoke, you're not supposed to drive the vehicle without a helmet, so without a license. So all these things becomes a custom. So it becomes a custom, we need to practice that custom. Next thing is a personal law. It is according to their own culture, according to their own bodies, what they do, they have their own personal laws. Muslim has got their own Muslim personal law. Hindus have got their own Hindus personal law. Christian has got their own personal law. The way they are going to marry, how they are going to divorce, everything is being given the personal law. That is many a times a point of issue. The parties of the dispute is not covered by any statute or custom in which the courts are required to apply the personal law. The court, what do? They go for a personal law because then they have no other option. It is a personal law which will determine what is the due course that court needs to do. Thus, in certain matters, we follow the personal laws of Hindus, Mohammedans, and Christians. So, it can be Jains, it can be Sikhs, it is Buddhist. What are the rules they follow, what are the law, personal laws they will follow, that will be taken into consideration. Then, English common laws. Considering the custom and usage as a raw material, the judge made up their judgments. These important contributions judgment are found in what is known as English common law, what we call that as. Based on the previous laws, even today we are following it. That's the reason why English common laws are still in existence. Decisions made by judges based on English customs and traditions, even today it is being placed. That is the reason why English common law is still in practice. Then precedents are past judicial decisions. So what are the decisions they make? The court make a decision, that becomes a law. Past decisions or judgments are called predecessents. Predecessents are often referred to when given decisions on similar cases. Indian Supreme Court is apex court and decision makes a binding effect on all the lower courts. Principle is that when a decision is given on one case, it implies that binding effect on cases in similar circumstances. So what happens is any past judgments taken place, the same thing will be continuing for all other remaining judgments, whatever you have, whatever happens after that. The Supreme Court is a final authority. They are the one who is going to decide what is to be done, how it is to be done, what act they're going to do. That becomes a law. That is the reason why past judicial decisions becomes a law. That is the source of business law. Now, what are the things we discussed today? First thing is the scope of business law. We said that the scope, it contains everything. All types of laws are there for business. Then the sources, we are discussing about the source. How did we get the law? As we discussed, how did we get the business law? What are the rules? How did we get the business law was discussed. And then today we will end up the session with this. Okay, thank you.